Hello again, everybody. This is Jim with Atlas. Today we're going to talk about tips for frozen food storage. Having a good um, frozen food storage system is one of the best ways to save a ton of money off of your food budget. And it also allows you to have good, healthy food ready to go at any time. It saves you money, of course, in being able to freeze leftover foods or excess, of course, foods from if you're growing food in your garden. And you can buy foods that are on sale. Say salmon goes on sale for $7, and it's normally 20. You can buy some extra salmon and have that ready to go in your freeze and keep that savings. Now we're talking about being able to freeze lots of food outside of the small freezer that people have in their typical refrigerator freezer. So we're talking about purchasing an additional freezer that's just for your frozen food storage system. A few considerations are the location and space that you're going to put this. You got to have an area, a storage room, garage, etc., where you can keep an additional freezer. Also, consider versus purchasing a commercial or a residential type freezer. The difference between the two is a commercial type freezer is more expensive than a residential type freezer, but the commercial freezer it just does a lot better job of freezing and maintaining frozen food at that 0 degree temperature. In a residential freezer, those are what we call also frost-free freezers. Commercial freezers tend to build up frost and you have to defrost them once or twice a year. The residential freezer doesn't have to be refrosted, but it has a heating and cooling system built in to get rid of the frost, and that makes it less efficient. So there's pluses and minuses to both. Consider those. Next, consider an upright freezer or a chest type freezer. The upright freezer saves space. It's got a smaller footprint than the chest type freezer, but the upright freezer is less efficient. Whenever you open the door on an upright freezer, a big column of cold air that you have in there drops right out of it. In a chest type freezer, that you don't have that happen because cold air drops and it stays in place. So make that determination too. If you have a little extra space, the chest type freezer is better. What types of foods freeze best? Well, of course, raw and cooked cooked meats freeze very well. Dairy products, milk, cheese, eggs freeze well. Soups, cooked potatoes, rice, pasta, blanched vegetables, and fruits all freeze very well. So the keys to the freeze. Number one, you want to keep air away from the food that you have in the freezer. When you have air next to the food, you get what's called freezer burn, which essentially destroys the food. It ruins it. So you want to get the air away and keep the air away. The best way to get the air out, the most air possible, is using a vacuum sealing system. And there's a lot of those available these days. You go out on Amazon, look for a vacuum sealer. They're not a lot of money, and they do the best job by far. Using Ziploc type freezer bags is good too, but they don't allow you to get as much air out of the product. And any airtight container though is good. With a container though, you do need to leave some space because as any food freezes, it expands, and you'll break the container or knock the top off of it. So with that airspace that you need to leave, of course, you have air next to the food. So at least the top portion of a lot of your foods will go bad. Again, you want to maintain your freezer, your frozen food at a temperature of 0 degrees. That's 0 Fahrenheit, which I believe is about minus 18 Celsius. You want to keep it right about at that temperature. To make sure that you're at and stay at that temperature, just a couple of dollars, you can buy a freezer thermometer to make sure you're maintaining that zero. Really, really important when you have a big freezer full of different foods to keep an inventory of the foods you have in that freezer. Otherwise, things will get lost. And even frozen foods, they do have an expiration. So if you lose things in the freezer, they'll expire, and any money you saved is kind of out the window. Um, Also, so on that inventory list, you want to maintain the name of the food, the date that you froze it, and its expiration. And all the expiration dates you can find say, how long is salmon good in the freezer? You'll find that information easily by just Googling, just finding it out, the information on the web. You want to clean and reorganize your freezer about once a quarter. And at that time, you're going to want to move older items to the front so that they get used before they expire, and then discard expired items from your freezer. Thanks for joining again, everybody. We'll talk to you again real soon. And as always, stay well.